Welcome back to Broken Electronics. I'm Lee, and it's wonderful to have you stop by for a little while today. Now, recently I did a video dealing with that iconic case that Apple devised and used and made so easy to upgrade machines. And I went through from the earliest use of that case, the Power Mac G3 blue and white, all the way up to the mirrored drive door Firewire 800 model. I didn't have every single one. I had everything but a yikes. So I went through and showed not only the difference in the cases themselves, which are only minor cosmetic differences, but the rather big differences that did take place on the logic boards that are inside those cases. Now, in that video, which I found an interesting one to make anyway, I never did boot up any of the machines. That got me to thinking that it might be interesting now to go through the Power Macs, starting with the G3 blue and white, and run a series of benchmarks to get the comparison. So we will in fact start with a G3 blue and white, work our way up to Power Mac G5s, I've got 3 of them, and see just what the differences are within those benchmarks. I think by the time we get from 1999 up to 2005, it's going to be a pretty dramatic difference. So if you're interested in benchmarks, or you're interested in seeing what's going to happen with this little experiment, I expect this will be multiple videos. I hope you're going to want to stay tuned. Well, I intend to run most of these benchmarks in Leopard. However, the G3 blue and white, this is the revision B. I'm not going to do the revision A machine. Is of course restricted to Tiger. So just as a reminder of what we've got here, 350 megahertz PowerPC G3, despite my efforts to upgrade it, 1 gigabyte of RAM, and I think the other salient thing to look at, graphics, which is that 64 megabyte graphics card, ATI. All right. Now, the first one we're going to do, everyone's favorite, Geekbench. And Geekbench is in tryout mode. I had quite a hunt to find a version of Geekbench that would run. I believe this is 2.1.3. Let's make sure of that. 2.1.13, glad I checked, which was one of the most recent versions of Geekbench that would actually run on OS 10.4 Tiger, Mac OS 10.4 Tiger. All right, so let's run the benchmarks. Now, Geekbench has certainly changed. I'm going to keep using this version of Geekbench as we do the comparisons, since scores from one version of Geekbench to another change rather dramatically. So we'll be staying with version 2.1.13 here. All right, now this is going to take a while to run, so I'm going to take pity on you. I will have to sit here while it runs, but you can just get the results. Stay tuned. And our results are in. Now, since we can't save this, we're just going to take a very good look at it. Our overall score is 201. Here we see the summary of the integer at 236, floating point 234, memory 136, and stream 97. And our system information, which you know. Now you can see specifics in that integer score of 236. A variety of the tests that are run. And then for floating point, and it's overall of 234. And the tests. Memory at 138. Certainly a bottleneck at only a gig. And then the stream section. So we'll probably refer back to this clip some, since I can't, being in trial mode, I can't save this. Alright, we shall be done with Geekbench. Now, the next thing I plan to do here is Xbench. Hello. Okay, we've mounted up. And here we are. Now, Xbench, in a sense, is very similar to Geekbench in that it is an overall test encompassing CPU, GPU, memory, etc. And disk speed, you know, a lot of things here. So, we open it up. We're going to start the tests. And this again, just as we saw with Geekbench, this is going to take a while. So I shall wait that out for you, and you can see the results. So stay tuned. Thought you might be interested in taking a quick look at the graphics test as it runs. Sort of a cool thing. All right. We'll be back with the results. I just thought you might want to be treated to this a little bit. Stay tuned. Yeah, this is the Opengl test, which is actually even a little bit cooler. Kind of fun to watch it running. All right, so we're pulling it up. Stay tuned. All right, so the Xbench tests are done. This one I will be able to save, but let's go over it a little bit. We have an overall score of 12.49. The CPU test, 8.89. Memory test, 7.41. Quartz graphics, 16.24. Opengl, 24.91. And then the disk test with reads and writes on the disk. This is, of course, an SSD, but it is attached via ATA. And we get 73.27. All right, we can save this. All right. So there goes Xbench. We can eject the disk image. And now the final test we're going to take, this one is graphics only, that is Opengl. And let's run the benchmark. This too is kind of cool to watch. As it works its way through. But I'm not going to subject you to that, so please stay tuned. Okay, that actually runs very, very quickly. We see that our total score here of our ATI Radeon 7000 Opengl is 115. And again, there doesn't appear to be any way of saving that. So we'll just quit out. Okay, so that should be the end of what we're going to be doing with the blue and white. We will be right back with the same set on the Sawtooth. Stay tuned. Well, now, here we are in the Tiger desktop on the Sawtooth. This Sawtooth is an unusual machine in that you see from these number of, rather amazing number of drives connected there. They're mostly partitions. This machine can run every operating system that a PowerPC Mac can run, starting from OS 9.2.2 all the way up to Mac OS 10.5.8 Leopard. I usually will run the Sawtooth in Leopard, but I've chosen in this case to open it up in Tiger. This is just for consistency's sake between the blue and white and the gigabit Ethernet to come, both of which only run Tiger. Also, the fact that the Leopard drive is an internal FireWire attached drive, so that's going to create a speed difference between what you would see from the IDE connection with the adapter. All right, we should take a quick look here about this Mac. We've jumped up to a 450 megahertz PowerPC G4. That's actually going to be quite a jump from the blue and white. A G4 to a G3, even at the same clock rating, will be about twice as fast a machine. And of course, now at the 2 gigabytes of RAM. And going into System Profiler, looking at graphics and displays, we've got a Radeon 7500 with 32 megabytes of video RAM. Now that's down a bit from what you saw in the blue and white, which had 64. However, we are Quartz Extreme supported here. All right. So without further ado, let's jump right into the benchmarks. Geekbench, which is still in tryout mode. We'll run that, and we'll bring you back when we have some results, so stay tuned. All right, results are in. We have an overall score of 264. That's a jump of 63 over what the blue and white was able to accomplish. We see the memory score, of course, has gone up with the 2 gigabytes of RAM. What would hold it back, I think, is the graphics performance. So we've only got 32 megabytes of video RAM, but in all, a very good thing. There's the integer section, 266. You want to take a look at the individual scores. Floating point, 339. I'm doing this for archival purposes more than anything, so I can go back and look at them since I can't save it. And I could do screenshots, but I'd have to go bit by bit to save everything. Memory and the stream. All right. So next up is going to be Xbench. All the same tests. So let's run it. And it shall run. I probably won't bring you back to look at the graphics test running unless it looks dramatically different. So we'll be back with the results. Stay tuned. And our Xbench results are in. We have our overall score of 17.93. That's a good 5 points higher than the blue and white was able to accomplish. CPU test 2012. We'll be able to save this. Thread test, memory test 1709. Now the Quartz graphics 1833 and OpenGL 2916. That's actually pretty good. Disk speed, Yeah, I'll be curious. I'll eventually run these in Leopard too, with the FireWire and see how those speeds compare. I'm going to be very interested in seeing that. But for the moment, we are going to stay with this. All right. All right. And we can save that. I can't type to save my life. Okay. I spent sawtooth. It is kind of an awkward setup here. All right. And we can unmount that. And now, the one that goes by fastest is Opengl. Let's run the benchmark. I'll be real curious to see what this one does. Okay, we'll be back with the results, so stay tuned. Well, this is something. We got a score of 332. That's dramatically higher than what we saw on the blue and white, as I recall. I'll have to go back and look at that. But yeah, wow. Some of that may have to do, even though it's half the video RAM. The fact that we got fully supported Quartz Extreme, and the AGP bus may have something to do with that as well. Okay, too bad we can't save that, but all right. Well, so we've now run our 3 benchmarks here on the Sawtooth. I will eventually be interested in seeing what it does on Leopard, but that's not going to be part of this. Let's move ahead to the last of the machines that I am intending to do in this first installment, which would be the Gigabit Ethernet. Stay tuned. And now our final look at Tiger in this series, and the final computer in this installment. In the other one, all of the other machines we're going to be looking at will run Leopard natively, so I'll run the benchmarks in Leopard. All right, let's get a look at what we have here. Here's the big difference. Dual 500 megahertz PowerPC G4. Still 2 gigabytes of RAM. Now our graphics here, we're jumping down. We're going to Rage 128, so we've only got 16 megabytes of video RAM in here. And Quartz Extreme is not supported, so that is certainly going to take a hit as we run our benchmarks. All right. I think I did originally have a more powerful video card in here, but I repurposed it to another machine. All right, let's run our benchmarks. And again, of course, Geekbench is going to take its sweet time, so we shall be back soon with the results. Stay tuned. Well, we continue our inexorable march upwards. Again, the overall score in Geekbench is about another 60-point differential, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. I'll have to go over the video clips to see for sure. And here you can see the individual scores in the various tests concerning the machine. The integer test, 578. Floating point, 719. Jump ahead. Memory performance, 275. Not a big change there, nor would we expect it to. Stream, 165. So, since we can't save this, system information we know. Here are the individual scores for the integer section. You can look back and see what's there. Floating point, the overall 719. Again, the various Geekbench tests for floating point. Memory, 275. And the stream. Okay. Yeah, too bad we can't save that other than photographically. All right. Next, we want Xbench. It mounts up. And we're going to run Xbench. All right, once again, of course, it's going to take a little while. Of the three, it's probably the longest test. So, I shall wait it out so you don't have to. Please stay tuned. All right, we have our results. Continuing our jumps forward, the overall result is 31.36. And then we see our system reports. All right, CPU test 3247. And the various aspects of that. Thread test, memory test. Yeah, I mean, the fact that it jumped ahead, that's got to be CPU, because that's the only place where there isn't advanced, those dual 500 megahertz G4s. Everything else, the memory is exactly the same. The graphics card is a distinct jump down. Disk speed is going to be the same. All right, there's a memory test at 20.04. Quartz graphics 2726. Of course, this is not Quartz Extreme capable. OpenGL 5539. Here are disk speeds. And of course, I mean, it's basically the same brand of SSD connected in exactly the same way, so we shouldn't see a radical difference. So yeah, but what we're seeing is a difference there. That's got to be all CPU. All right. Save this. And then we can close out. And eject that. All right. And then finally, OpenMark. Now, I would anticipate with OpenMark that we're actually going to see a regression. Hello. Did I accidentally close it? I must have. Run benchmark. Ha ha ha! It can't even run it. It really can't even run it. Okay. Yeah, and that's the 16 megabytes of video RAM talking right there. That and the fact that it is not Quartz Extreme supported. Okay. Well, that saves that clip a little bit, doesn't it? All right, so we have those two results anyhow. That's going to be the wrap-up then to this video. And we see the progression, and there definitely is a progression. Overall, the Gigabit Ethernet did perform quite a bit better in both Geekbench and Xbench due to those dual 500 megahertz G4s. Other than that, no, and graphics, of course, decidedly worse. All right, so we shall be back soon with more in this series. Be good to other people. We all deserve to be treated fairly and well. Be good to yourselves. It has to start from there. Let's make this world a better place. And until it becomes that better place, please take very, very good and careful care in these most difficult times. So we'll be back with another couple installments in this series very soon, as well as a whole bunch of other things that I find very exciting. I hope you do too. All right. Until we are back with all of those, this has been Broken Electronics.